bet your ass well. We got it? Got it. All right, let's get to work.
So, Dash is actually hosting the VCT Americas this week. I think we should try to do something for him, right? Because he's kind of used to that.
Yeah, I mean, I remember my first day, looking at his face there. I mean, it reminds me. I was so nervous at the beginning. I think it'd be a good gesture of goodwill.
I suppose. When is he supposed to be here anyway?
I mean, I think he's in makeup, so should be out any minute, no?
Oh.
What's up, guys? How's it going? That's fun.
Hey, what's up, guy? Welcome.
Okay, not at me, not at me. Okay,
Here,
all right.
pull mine.
Misspelled a little bit there, but I appreciate the effort.
The D is for Dash.
Ooh, yeah. Thanks?
Yeah, for you. He's
Nailed
one
it.
of us now.
Well, I couldn't be happier to be one of us now. And sure, the sun is shining bright on this beautiful Saturday, but you can go ahead and touch grass another time because this is the place to be. Hello and welcome to week 3 of VCT Americas, coming to you live from the Riot Games Arena in Los Angeles, California. I am Dash. Joining me on the desk to kick off 3 straight days of competition on land in front of a live crowd, it's Vansili and Athena. And gotta be said, I'm so happy to be on the set with both of you. It's very weird for me to be in a place that I've called home for 10 years, but now hosting an entirely different game. It's an absolute dream.
So
here.
you're nervous?
I'd be lying if I said I wasn't a little nervous, it's very weird to walk into this set and feel butterflies, something I haven't felt in some time.
That's awesome.
How have you two been this week? You've had quite the week.
I've had quite a week, quite a long week. Tournament week. It's been great. It's been fun. It's been stressful.
We'll get into some of that.
Yeah.
We'll get into some of that. We have to talk about Athena's week. She's been here fresh off an impressive showing at Game Changers. Now, despite staggering setbacks, Athena and her teammates at Moist Moguls managed to finish top 4. Talk to me about your experience.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, the last-minute pickup from Moist Moguls really helped us out because we were kind of in a bind, and we had, like, a ton of obstacles before us. I mean, Emily here just showed, like, how much power that we had put into this roster, into this game. Emily actually coming up with an ace 1v4, 1v5 clutch for us to actually keep it in OT.
I actually didn't even think I had a voice for that part. Emily just killed it.
I don't know if you saw the video that she posted, but I was literally screeching after that. Like straight up high-pitched screeches. Like it was great. It was really stressful. It was a fun time. Obviously we powered through. We had a lot of issues coming into it, and I think for us as a team, we just did like a really good job of like powering through everything, making sure that nothing's going to stop us at this point.
Hell yeah, as it shouldn't, right? So top 4 finish, of course, we do have to talk a little bit about the finals as well.
Yeah.
I'm curious your perspective watching from the sidelines for this one, how it all played out.
Oh my God, V1 looked amazing. I mean, they did not drop a map to anyone. Like they did so well. They look so strong as a team. I think huge props to Mel and Alexis. I mean, obviously this was the core of like the C9 dynasty beforehand, and they've come and just showed that like, hey, like doesn't matter who's on the roster, we can lead them to greatness. And I think Mel obviously did like a huge thing with that. So
They're just rolling in the dough right now too for Mel and Alexis. I think it's like their 8th Game Changers that they've won in North America, and yeah, we talked about a powerhouse in C9 White before, but I think this time with version 1, definitely it's another powerhouse, another super team, especially with Fluorescent. It was almost like a Fluorescent Gold Killed kind of matchup as well in that grand finals. I hope that at least throughout this year for Shopify Rebellion, they find a way to break that 2nd place curse.
yeah, I mean, for Floor, she really like popped off, and I think for Shopify, you can kind of see that like coming into it, they were a little shaky. They had good ground, but it was like the foundation was good, but they just couldn't kind of beat and push past that 2nd place curse. So I'm excited to see how this plays out.
Yeah, I mean, not dropping a map is a terrifying thing in any esport, let alone Valorant, to say the least. But heading into week 3, let's go ahead and check in on our current standings here in VCT America, see where we stand. Now, today's matchups, they're going to shake things up because most of the league here stands at 1-1. Of course, first up, we have 100 Thieves versus Cloud9, and later on, we'll have NRG versus MIBR. But, I mean, this whole week, I think, is so interesting because we're finally going to start to see some separation and some definition in the standings, right, Vance?
Definitely a great opportunity for these teams to start stepping out at the same time. I mean, they all had shaky starts, which is why we currently see them at 1-1, but the C9 and 100 Thieves, I don't think it's going to be as one-sided as we think it's going to be. I think that's going to be a great opportunity for C9 to prove themselves going into this game and going into the series.
And Athena, I'm kind of curious your perspective at like this point in a season or in a split. Like, when do you start feeling the pressure as a player? Obviously, you want wins anytime you can get them, but when it comes to starting to move up the standings, you look at those 0-2 teams or the 1-1 teams trying to separate themselves. When do you really start to feel like you got to turn it on and find your peak form?
Yeah, I mean, coming into week 3, it's definitely like kind of a strong point to feel like, okay, we need to shift the momentum for us right now. Like coming in, you have the first week, like roster changes, you have new dynamic, you kind of have maybe honeymoon periods, you're not really 100% sure like where it's going to go. But then by week 3, you're like, okay, we have our foundations down, we have our mechanics down, we know who's going to be IGLing, we know who's going to be mid-rounding, we know who's going to be supporting.
Running out of excuses, right? You're running out of excuses if you can't get the dub, yeah.
So at that point, you're just kind of like, well, we really need to start putting it into action. And so right now, it's definitely kind of where the tides are going to turn for, okay, can we actually perform the way that we are expected to?
All right, so pressure's on here in week 3. Don't forget, next week is Super Week as well, so we'll have 5 days of play. Now, during the kickoff of VCT Americas, though, we did a power ranking of all 10 teams, and I think it's time for an update. Let's see where things stand as we send it over to Doug and Sideshow for a refresh.
Thank you so much, Tash. Yeah, Josh, as Dash was just saying, this happened a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I know that Brendan and Josh worked so hard. They combined their brain cells together.
Brendan Mimi, I've got more brain cells than Mimi. Don't be putting me in that group.
You're right. Combine their brain cells together to put together this power ranking. Now, I'm going to give you the opportunity to be very kind and generous to your colleagues.
Of course I will be.
And,
of course.
and tell me what you thought about their power rankings. And I want you to tell me off the bat who you think they slotted correctly. Let's start there.
It's kind of weird, actually, because broad strokes, it's not that bad. But I want to start with 100 Thieves and Sentinels, actually.
Okay.
So give me the 100 Thieves one.
All right.
Because weirdly enough, even though Sentinels got the win over 100 Thieves, I still want to put 100 Thieves above them. I feel like actually Sentinels are struggling to find their identity right now, and 100 Thieves are playing the better fundamental game.
Sure, I'll give you Sentinels as well. Remember, that was a week 1 matchup.
I know it was a week 1 matchup, and I know that the Sentinels fans are going to give me stuff for it, but listen, hand me another one, and we'll talk this through, because I think there's a lot of movement towards the bottom and the top of the pack.
All right, well, let's go to the bottom. What about Crew?
Okay, Crew. I think they're fairly reasonably placed, actually, down there in the 9th spot, but they're playing a lot better than we expected, or at least Brennan Mimi expected, in my opinion.
Sure.
And there's other teams that have slipped down.
Sure. And what about towards the top? We're going to jump around everywhere. Talk to me about Leviathan.
Leviathan is still playing really well. I've been impressed with what they've shown, but I think they slipped 1 spot just because the Panther is rising. There's crazy stuff happening.
All right, no, not yet. Loud.
Loud? Where do you think I should put Loud?
I think Loud go at the top.
Loud go at the top?
Yeah, absolutely.
Good job. I don't care what you think. Loud are in 2nd place. Again, hand me the Panther. Let me talk about Furia.
The Panther?
No? Okay.
Yep, all right, here you go.
All right, that's
Cloud9.
not a Panther, that's a Cloud. Except, actually, Cloud9 have been doing pretty well. It's credit, honestly, that they even believed in the 8th spot. But I'm going to move them up a place here, and I think this battle that we've got going on between Cloud9 and 100 Thieves actually a really important middle battle. MIBR. They haven't been playing that well, but they've been doing better than Crew, so I'm going to put them down there.
Evil Geniuses?
Evil
all
Geniuses.
9 of them? 10 of them? However many there are.
All of the Evil Geniuses have managed to combine together and only win maps of Heretics this year. And we've all seen the EMEA games, so let me speak no further.
What about NRG?
NRG are in the same group as Leviathan, in my opinion. They have been playing well. Obviously, they lost to Leviathan, but it's all about Furia. Those teams have to shift down because we've got a new team that looks like they're on top.
So who do you want at this
I want the Panther. Give me the Panther.
Right.
Yeah.
How about MIBR?
I don't want MIBR. I want to talk about Furia.
Yep.
Yeah, okay, we'll put, yeah, they're still there.
Yep.
Loud.
Well, what about Loud? How do you feel about Loud?
Right,
Josh?
okay. Well, I'll just
tell
talk
me about
them
Loud.
anyway, I suppose. The reason that I think Furia deserve that #1 position, Khalil is playing like the best player in Americas. They're going to be facing off on Monday as well, Loud against Furia. So really, that's going to decide where that 1 and 2 falls. But frankly, this team has been on the rise for a while. Bren doubted them, put them in 4th place, that wasn't underrating them too bad, but what they've showcased, to me, deserves that #1 spot, frankly. We will see whether Loud are able to actually overcome them. Obviously made it to the finals of Lock-In, and they've never lost to a Brazilian team before. But if there was one team to do it, Furia looks so dangerous right now with Dejazine and Khalil.
They look incredible. Dash, what do you guys think? Good? Is he wrong? Is he crazy? What's up?
Well, he's definitely crazy. That much I know,
Yes.
for sure. In terms of the list, I will defer to my analysts because we see some shakeups here. I think the most notably, of course, is the fact that Furia jumps all the way up to the #1 slot. What do you make of that?
I mean, I think it's definitely ambitious. I think
It's a good word for it. It's a good word.
I think for me, Loud is kind of just like they found their bread and butter already. They've proven it multiple times, and so for me, like I kind of like stability. So I'm just gonna keep looking.
Yeah, they're still the champs, fans. They're undefeated,
Dude.
2-0. They're the champs.
Sideshow is overcooking this. I think he's molding as much, like too much about KC Corp over at EMEA that he just became crazy now in North America. Yes, okay, they're 2-0 so far. They've won some teams, but it's all like this inter-region battles that they've had, right? Defeating Crew, defeating Leviathan. It comes down to teams that they played in the past before. How is that going to look against an American team in North America? They haven't played against a North American team since 2021 champions, and they lost. It's Sentinels.
The man's fired. The man's fired up. The day's only just begun, and the man's fired up. You gotta love it, though. I'll also call out. We don't need to talk about it. 100 Thieves over Sentinels after dropping the series to Sentinels? Feels like a little disrespect, maybe. We are going to step away for a quick minute, but when we return, we'll break down our first match of the day. It's 100 Thieves versus Cloud9. We'll see you right back here in just a bit.
Trying to move into the site. It's a 4 versus 2. That's now Bang. Oh, looking for the transfer. And he's going to get it. Still stuck towards the top. As Rooney fights from the back. Make that even 3 for him.
Came through with it again. They know that I got spirit with a pen. Don't know why they try to compete when they know that in victory it's never gonna end. Them in a week, that's why they could never speak. They ain't like me, I take it to the peak. Different type of steeds that I breed. Wheel up on the mic, they won't get one of these. Please, I don't wanna hear no talk from them. I don't wanna see nothing at all from them. They can't do it like me. So all I wanna see really is a round of applause from them. Vibes in the air, we caused it again. Life isn't fair, but we rode it again. All of my teams being ready for the war, there's no warning for them. Tell them again, I ain't here to make up no friends. I just came through yet again. We up, you never got one of them. Top of the pound yet again. They can't stop this child not again. Reigning champ, I won't lose it. So you know I'm gonna win that again. Tell them again. Tell them again. Tell them again. Tell them again. I ain't here to make up no friends. I just came through yet again. We love you, never got one of them. Top of the pile yet again. They can't stop this child not again. Reigning champ, I won't lose it. So you know I'm gonna win that again. Tell them 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 again. I ain't here to make up no friends. I just came through yet again. We love you, never got one of them. Top of the pile yet again. They can't stop this child not again. Reigning champ, I won't lose it. So you know I'm gonna win that again.
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to VCT Americas. We're kicking off week 3 with 2 of NA's finest going head-to-head. It's 100 Thieves versus Cloud9. First, though, let's talk about 100 Thieves, who bounced back after a disappointing week 1 and took 2 straight maps off of Evil Geniuses. Is this team on the upswing? Can we call it that?
I'd like to think so. I would like to think so.
That was an exasperated yes, though. So let's work through that. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, because I got to say, they did win last week. It looked like a great win, but it was still against, unfortunately, EG. But then on the other end, EG didn't play too bad of a game, too bad of a series against 100 Thieves, putting up a very good first map on Haven, trying to figure out like the gaps between the matches that they had versus 100 Thieves, and actually played like a pulse plan pretty decently. So 100 Thieves, for me, I think that they still need some time here.
Yeah, I think 100 Thieves also has Bang. And Bang came out with a bang and showed us who he is and how he plays. I mean, he literally looked unstoppable. Like, everything about him, his mechanics, his aim, his game sense, his map awareness, everything about him was just on fire. And I think that if he keeps that up, he will kind of replace the kind of star role that Cryo is kind of holding for a long time. So I think, like, it's really, really interesting. If every single person on this team performs the way that they have been performing, like the star players that they are, then...
Yeah, and I love this, because let's continue this conversation around Bang Van Silly, because we can always go back to individuals, right? And we can talk about how individuals are top performers, and I think that when you see Bang pop off in the way he does, in some ways it almost exacerbates the question of, like, so then why aren't they necessarily at the top of the table when you got dudes popping off like this?
But that's the thing, and you need those players to be kind of like consistent if you want those pop-off moments, and it doesn't happen every single time for a team like 100 Thieves, because you're counting on players like Cryocells when he's playing a Jet to try to move forward. But again, when you're looking tactically of how it worked between 100 Thieves and EG, the game plan, it was still sound there for EG, but it's just Bang is able to win a 4 versus 1, break the momentum of EG. But if it comes down to, like, okay, how are they working the attack? How are they working the defense for EG? They still put up a good fight in that, and there was still struggles in those moments.
Well, let me come right back at you then, because let's identify maybe a second player, right, behind Bang, who we want to see step up, has stepped up at moments, maybe still a little bit of inconsistency. I'm looking at Cryo.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Cryo's still always very good, but when, yes, he didn't have the best in terms of stats on Icebox. I think he went really negative, like at 6-11 or whatnot, but Icebox is not the type of map where you want Cryocells to, like, activate and be that entry fragger. He's got to delay. He's got to make some smokes. What I like seeing from 100 Thieves is that they actually use him as the Omen to create space on Icebox. He's shrouded stepping, getting picked off, but at least finds information. He's like a human drone for 100 Thieves, so that somebody like Bang and Derek could actually come back and trade with them.
I actually love that too, because 100 Thieves recently kind of changed their in-game IGLing style to have a lot more freedom. They were super, super structured, and I think giving freedom to players like Bang and Cryo might actually make them way better players, or have, like, pushed their skill ceiling way harder than they should have earlier. And I think, like, giving a team more freedom may, you know, kind of be for the worse, but for the better. So,
it's a gamble, right? Because you can find just disgusting synergy like in that freedom and get to a place where, oh, not so much has to be said and we're still making the plays. By the same token, you can kind of be directionless, right? If no one is willing to kind of take the reins when they find themselves in a winning moment. We flip on over to the other side of the matchup. We got to talk about Cloud9, who similarly are trying to find themselves, right? I think that's maybe the best way to play it. No surprise, or no secret, I should say, Athena, that their offseason got kind of turned on its head. Obviously losing Ye, who many will tout as the best player in North America, and looking to replace him and still find success.
Yeah, I know. That roster change is crazy. Like, I think it's just, like, one of the most questionable decisions, I think, that for me personally as a player seeing it, I mean, there must have been some sort of inside ideas that weren't kind of meshing together very well, but overall it's just, it's really concerning, because C9 kind of has their bread and butter. They have Leaf. They have Zeppa.
That's it.
Right?
Yeah,
well,
and they still have two new
Leaf,
players.
That's it. But they also
No, they also
I love
have two
it.
good players.
They've also got Rooney and Zelsis.
They have a good roster. In the end, they have a good roster. You may say that in the offseason, they kind of had the world turn upside down, but they didn't face plant. They still looked really good.
Yeah.
And IGL, you have Rooney that's coming into the scene right now calling this team, but at the same time, they still got a map under the belt in that series against Loud, who arguably is the top team in Americas, unless they're Sideshow and you're thinking about Furia. But at the same time, you got to say that, okay, they didn't have too much time to cook with, and they're still able to put maps against some teams. They're able to find a good structure behind. And on top of that, Jake and also Rooney are putting up great performances in the fragging department too. So it's not a bad-looking roster right now.
Yeah, what do you make of new players coming into rosters and how they should approach assimilating into a team? Is it their job? And this is also an interesting situation because it's not just one substitution, it's two,
Yes.
right? Is it their job on the outset to just morph and chameleon into what Cloud9 already was? Or do they need to redefine Cloud9 entirely?
I mean, it's actually funny because we were in a similar situation where we had a core and then we had these two new players and then we kind of did assimilate. The core assimilated to the new players where we kind of changed up IGLs, we kind of changed up roles because we wanted to make everyone comfortable. And that was our approach to it. So if C9 is kind of going down that same route, then I think they're going to try to make everyone comfortable and try to do their best at changing, whatever roles they need to change, whatever in-game voices they need, whatever strengths that each of these players bring, they really need to find a way to pick it up and show it.
Well, speaking of making Jake and Rooney comfortable, their debut has been very solid, right? But if you're watching this team play, it's no secret that Leaf is the one who's the hard carry at the moment.
Yes, that's what I love seeing as well. Leaf coming back into this roster as not being tied in to just playing sentinel roles. Remember him at Locked In, stuck on a Cypher, stuck on a Killjoy, around the range, stuck around the range of the Killjoy utility. Now he gets to pop off again. It kind of brings back to that statement of what Jack and MCE had when they talked about the role issues and why we actually unfortunately lost the and Vanity. But now you have an opportunity to see a C9 back of 2021 when Leaf was playing on a Jet on Breeze, I remember. Do we want Breeze back? I don't know. That's going to be another discussion. But when we saw Breeze just on should I say Leaf on that Jet, he looked awesome. And it's great to see that he's able to pop up again this time as a support role, as a Sky, also as a Jet. Now there's also flexibility in the core, going deep into agent pools that they're super comfortable with. Like I said, I don't think that we should sleep on this team.
Yeah, I will admit it's a curiosity of mine. Cloud9, at least in the League of Legends world, has this identity of losing the offseason, right? They always get made fun of for losing the offseason, and then outperform everybody, right? And Jack can kind of throw that into people's faces, trust the process. Will that be the case here in Valorant? Because once again, forfeiting Ye from your roster alongside Vanity, those are big moves and ones that will be criticized if they don't ultimately work out for this team in the end. We talked about debuts for these young players, and Jake has himself a tough matchup today. If we're going to hone in on one featured matchup, it's going to be Jake up against Bang. We talk about what Bang's already done for this 100 Thieves roster, and it's going to be up to Jake to contain him today.
Yeah, I mean, both these players are so good. They look so crispy in game, and you can just see that both these stats show that they are actually putting up the numbers that each of these teams need. So obviously Bang, I think for me, has just had that insane awareness playing for his team, and he really proved himself as a player more than just a fragger. And I think that that's something that I think Jake kind of brings, but also, in my opinion, I think Bang just kind of really proved it to us, and I'm really hyping him up, so I really hope he performs today.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, I agree with
set expectations.
Exactly. In the same sense, I do agree with Myrna because Jake also has played a lot of that Jet role, duelist role in Collegiate, coming now into this roster to play more of a controller role, a support role, and it's a different type of play style, right? When you're actually playing as a duelist, you have to try to open the mark, you have to dive, you have to create that space. He's able to do it. This time, he's going to have to assist more, but maybe be in situations where he's going to have to clutch. And yes, you've been actually hyping up Bang a lot, that 4 versus 1, and how good he's been on Icebox. I haven't seen too many opportunities where Jake had to be in those situations where he has to try to clutch, so I'm hoping that I get to see that opportunity for today. And if he pops off, then that's another discussion to later on to say how even these two players could be.
Now, moving away from rosters and one-on-one matchups and things like that, Cloud9, they do have one little ace up their sleeve, and that has been their eco round performance so far in the league. I mean, you're always happy to get one, let alone many when it comes to an eco round win rate. But they've performed quite admirably here, top of the league when it comes to their win rate in those eco rounds.
Yeah, I mean, thrifties, ecos, whatever you want to call it, every single time, they can be completely random, they can be completely set in stone. And I think C9 kind of proved that, we can bring that random factor. We can kind of play together as a team, even on those eco rounds. A lot of the time, eco rounds are overlooked by teams, I feel like. They're just like, oh, it's just eco, try to get kills, try to get whatever, get exit frags. But
then you got players you got 4. Like Rooney, he's just insane on that sheriff too. So they definitely have the firepower to just turn around over sometimes without even needing strats, rather.
Well, that could be such a difference maker, right? I mean, even if you don't get the round win, right? You mentioned just wrecking the economy of your
Exactly,
opponent
yes.
on a thrifty round could be just as valuable to a degree. Now, we are minutes away from 100 Thieves and Cloud9, so don't go anywhere. We'll have our predictions and more when VCT Americas continues right after this. When does TSM play? Those are good questions to be asking, and questions I don't have the answers to. Welcome back, everybody. Cloud9, 100 Thieves, they're standing by.
Brenda, do you have an answer? You played for TSM at once.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I did.
Yep.
No.
Just keep waiting. Just keep waiting. One of these days. All right, it's time for us to break out the whiteboards here, talk about some predictions for the first series of the day. It's 100 Thieves on one side, Cloud9 on the other. I don't want to go first, so I'm just gonna make you go first.
Okay.
Vance.
So I was joking around with the dressing room, so I'm dressed kind of like an artist today, right? With this shirt.
Yeah.
So I decided to add a little bit more art into my prediction. So hopefully I didn't slander the logo, but I'm definitely going for the Thieves. They're definitely, yes, maybe not looking as good as I thought they would be from the get-go, but they're still showing some good signs of promises. There's still an opportunity for an upset.
All right, well executed on the drawing there. I appreciate it.
thank you,
Athena,
thank
what are you thinking here?
So actually, I was joking around with the wardrobe today, and they told me that I could. So I decided to draw my prediction, and so we also have 100 Thieves. I hyped up Bang. I'll hype up the whole team. I think it's gonna go 100 Thieves' way.
That's so funny. I was also having a conversation. No, I'm kidding. I am going for 100 Thieves as well. I think this is near a coin flip at the end of the day. And so that's going to be a tough one, I think, for either of these teams, but giving the edge to 100 Thieves at that. Predictions are locked in. I think it's about time that we talk about difference makers here. Ultimately, when it comes down to 100 Thieves winning, what is it?
Yeah, so it's the way that they're able to execute into sites. I think you're bringing back that 2021 style of 100 Thieves, always being really good at executions, but there is some gaps in trying to hold it that their opponents, EG, were able to do last week, so they got to be careful to brush that up.
There you have it. Some final thoughts before we dive into it. We're set. So let's go ahead and get Saturday started off right. 4 teams will take to the stage today. Anything can happen. Anything will happen in week 3 of VCT Americas, and all of that's going to start in just about a moment. I'm so happy to be here back in my home studio. Now the Riot Games Arena in Los Angeles. VCT Americas starts right now.
This stream contains fast-flashing images that may affect viewers who are susceptible to photosensitive epilepsy or other photosensitivities. Viewer discretion is advised.
Everyone was talking about him, and this is going to be the guy to look out for.
Too much Cryo again. Does this guy miss? Does Cryo ever miss? No, he doesn't.
Olha, Thieves, escala bem, faz duplo abate, vamos, Fogão!
Se acaba tempo e leva!
Bom, agora a gente enfrenta a NRG, eles adaptam muito durante o jogo. Você pode esperar tudo deles, tem que respeitar os caras.
Tom left in this 1v2, he gets one. Letting it swing into him, and it does. Huge out from Finesse, can he get the 1v1? Jeff on the tap, on the hold, but Finesse with the swing.
We respect them a lot, we know they have good players, and we're not going to underestimate them.
Por cima o Muriz aparece bem, leva 2, 3 kills do Capita, ele quer mais. Rotação, são 3 jogadores chegando, segura o primeiro, viu o segundo, vem o terceiro. Monstro!
Their new additions are still pretty strong, and I expect them to be a pretty tough matchup.
Still stuck towards the top. As Rooney fights from the back. Make that even 3 for him. But there's that position from Zeppa. Lands onto the second kill. Dodging the blade storm to get the third. Trying to salvage the Thrash, but Leaf is once again there.
I think 100 Thieves is a solid team. If that team catches their confidence again, they could be insane.
Osna fighting back towards Sewers, and he gets the 3K. As now Bang. Oh, looking for the transfer, and he's gonna get it. I love it. He did the snail. He did the snail.
I loved absolutely every single moment of that walk-on. The battle of 1-1 teams here in Week 3, Cloud9 versus 100 Thieves. We were joking. Is it too late to change our predictions?
I was gonna say.
100 Thieves guys, they got all out of whack there. I'm worried about the shot calling and the synergy at this point if we're going on stage in the wrong order.
I thought I was the one that was nervous on the desk because I get to be with the best host in the industry and one of the best minds here in Game Changers for Valorant. But it definitely does look here at the players walking out the stage that maybe the nervousness is coming out from the Thieves.
All of that was just so much fun. Also, did you see the fist bump at the end as
That's
well?
it. He did the snail.
A little bit.
You ever done?
Yeah,
I got caught. I do those.
Get him with the snail.
Yeah, yep.
All right, let's do our best to refocus in on this series, as much fun as it was. to watch all of that take place. Even just referencing the way that the players themselves were talking in that little video preview, right? We heard Cloud9 members talking about how scary this 100 Thieves roster can be, especially if they find their confidence again, right? And I think that's a big factor here, especially as we play week over week in a league format on stage with a crowd. That's going to take some getting used to. And you got to wonder, when will they find that peak of confidence?
Yeah, I mean, for both these teams, when they are at their full confidence kind of play zone, then that's when you can tell that they're fully comfortable. And I think one of the biggest things about playing on a team is, in order to be comfortable, you have to feel like you are having fun. And I think that that is a really big thing. And it's really hard to do when you're in front of a whole crowd and there's cameras and lights flashing and everything, you know, but it's really interesting to see which one of these teams is going to be able to kind of pick it up, play it like they do in scrims, you know, like just have fun with it and also win.
Yeah, that's definitely what I saw from the last 2 weeks, actually. I was seeing Cloud9 coming into the tournament here for the VCT Americas. Starting off week 1, week 2, Jake, like there was a lot of pressure on his shoulders, but he's already coming out smiling in the camera shots, the player shots that we have in between the rounds. I think this is still going to be a very good series that might even go to 3.
Yeah, well, if we want to go to 3, we'll see what maps it would have to happen on. It'll be Cloud9 with the first of the map vetoes, and it's a ban towards Icebox.
I mean, I would ban it too. If I saw the way Bang was playing on that, I would ban it too. I don't blame them for that at all.
Fair enough. Pearl will follow pretty quickly here for 100 Thieves. What do you make of that one, Vince Silly?
It's actually quite interesting because Pearl was also the map that was played last week by Cloud9, and it seemed that they were figured out when they're playing against Loud, focusing a lot for Zelsis around the orb on the A site, around that Phoenix play. And maybe because of that read too, they still might be afraid of the face-to-face battles. Going to Lotus, though, that's going to be a very fun one.
How much do you index into your opponent's performance on maps versus just your own, securing your own maps?
I think for us, we kind of prioritize our bans for our opponents. Recently, we have been permabanning because it's been a little clustery, but I think banning your opponent's best map, picking your best map is really good, and that's why I think the C9 pick on Lotus is really good. I mean, we did see it, the last time we saw it was in lock-in where they did win, and I know 100 Thieves have not looked that good, and then the 100 Thieves pick of Ascent is also really interesting.
Definitely. I think looking back at that Lotus is, again, one of the key components of the coaching staff around C9 with MC and Cooper going into maybe maps where you don't expect C9 to come in as like a new roster. Hey, can we play the common maps? Should we play the Havens? Should we play the Ascents of the world? And when they picked Split last week on top of that and got that map against Loud, I definitely do think that they have something cooked up here at Lotus, where even for 100 Thieves, they didn't look that great, as you mentioned, Myrna, because they had to Fade coming into that. They had a Cypher going through at lock-in too, and it looked like it wasn't as clean as you want it to be. So this is a great opportunity for C9 to put another one early onto the board.
Cloud9 boys in the house. Love to see it. Love to see it. LCS champions. They'll soon be on their way to London to compete in MSI, but hoping to watch their boys take a dub in VCT Americas. Van said he wants all 3. He said he thinks this series can go all 3, but now that you've seen the actual map picks, are we going to make it to Haven, you think, Athena?
I think that we will. I think it is a 3-map pick. I think the comps are going to be really interesting, and when it does come to Haven, I think it's going to be really close, but I think these comps coming into Lotus are going to be really interesting. We do see Leaf on the Neon, which is going to be super exciting. We have Sky, obviously one of the best initiators to have on this map at this moment. We have Viper coming in. We have the Omen for Bang. We have the double controller setup from C9. It's going to be a really fun game to watch. A double initiator on 100 Thieves is also really cool.
And now the Thieves are seeing that strength there, going into that Killjoy as that Sentinel for their composition. So Stellar switching away from that Cypher into that Killjoy is going to be something very nice to see. But what's very intriguing for me is Asuna going on to this Breach. They're going into trying to support Cryo as much as they can into the entries. I mean, there's a lot of pressure on him to try to perform to get the entries that you want. So hopefully Asuna is there for that second trade.
Yeah, I mean, it works out perfectly because for 100 Thieves kind of going against the double controller, they're going to need as much util as they can to get onto that site. The amount of delay that this team has is just way too much. Like they can delay for so long that 100 Thieves is gonna have to push you, and it's the same, vice versa. I think both these comps are like kind of the yin and yang of each other.
I'm excited. I'm a big Breach fan, so I'm happy to see that one locked in. You've got so many blinds on that team between Sky Breach and even Omen being able to add in there. Comps are locked in. Teams are ready to do battle here on Lotus for our first map of the day. It's time for us to send it over to our casters. As we do, I want to wish both Wyatt and Bren well. Please get better soon, my dudes. Until then, we're handing it over to a brand new duo here, Esports Doug and Sideshow.
Thank you so much, Dash. Yeah, Josh, an honor to share the desk with you, even if he is the inferior Elden Ring player at the desk. It's so good.
Unbelievable.
to do this with you.
Unbelievable.
Now, I want to get your thoughts on this because this feels like a battle of the middle of the pack, but
Yeah.
Josh, it's for very different reasons. I think if you consider both teams at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, I think at the beginning of the year, you would have expected this to be a blockbuster match, both teams really fighting for the absolute top of Americas. And for various different reasons, that hasn't exactly materialized. And instead, you've got a situation where I think 100 Thieves especially have higher expectations coming into this game and are going to be expected to kind of put Cloud9 away. And if they can't do that, maybe it has concatenating repercussions for them as we move deeper into this. Having said that, Cloud9 going with the pick for Lotus here, I think is so interesting. I expect them to be very prepped, as they were when they played that first map against Loud.
Oh, they're going aggressive. Look at how far Cryo's already gone, but he got flashed in response by Jake, and he falls. Got it.
And that is a huge trailblazer too. So many people stunned up. Look at Asana's health. Bang and Asana, barely with a shred of life between them. And Stella's on his lurk play again. Stella was playing Cypher last time we saw them play Lotus, and he was doing this kind of stuff all the time. Just trying to contact back into A, using his cam. On Killjoy, he has even less ability to do that, I think.
Well, I think the lurk has already been had. If it wasn't the turret, it was also because Zeus is spotted, but I don't know if they're expecting Stellar to be creeping this far up.
Stella has to make a play in this kind of situation, and Cloud9 are reading it.
Whew. Now 2 members meet weak on the side of Cloud9, and Jake and Leaf. You see the utility set up. They start to flood out onto the side. Ping the tip of the spear with 53 HP, spotting the first and falling at the hands of Zeppa. But it's traded right back. And Stellar tries to hit the transfer, not able to do so. Derek in this 1v2. He's so weak. Celsius gets 3 on the round, and Cloud9 are on the board first.
Great stuff for Cloud9 in the pistol round.
Yeah.
They handled that right from the very beginning. 100 Thieves had a big plan to try and take B control, trap a player there in the breakable door. Look at them pinging it on the minimap here as well. You know, clearly, that's where the round went wrong. But at the same time, by the time they got back into A, they actually made a lot of their fundamental strengths work. Derek, Asana, Stella all combining together, playing angles off each other, made it somewhat winnable. I am interested in general to see how this attacking composition works, though. For 100 Thieves, we've seen the meta for this map really heavily trend towards double smokes, and they have abandoned that. 0 and 2 during lock-in, playing the solo Astra. Now here Bang swaps over to Omen, but it's not a significant shift. And we also saw NRG fall flat on their face trying to run the double flash comp. It's not exactly the same, but double initiator hasn't really been working.
There are definitely some similarities there. You see this crossfire set up and the entry to B. And I think they know that Leaf is there as well, so yeah, he's gonna have to tuck tail and get away.
I think for 100 Thieves too, this will be giving flashbacks to that first round of lock-in where they played against Footballist, and the Neon Comp was on the other side there, delivering them a pretty hefty upset loss in that first map, but one they battled back through.
I don't know anyone expected that.
No, certainly not. I mean, did anyone expect Cloud9 to be this competent, honestly, with those 2 roster changes that they've made too?
Also
I think
good point.
Valorant is full of surprises, and this team is definitely delivering them. 100 Thieves so slow in this round, though. Only classics, no serious danger.
Yeah, I think they're waiting for Asana's fault line to come back up, which it just did, and there it is. Drop, Jake playing inside the smoke to try to deal some damage, and that flash is gorgeous, man. Nobody could see a thing.
And I would expect 100 Thieves slow pace to continue, even once they get the rifles on board. With only 1 smokes player, it's quite difficult to maneuver your way around the map.
Yeah, sure. Especially a 3-site map.
Yeah. You see the best teams in the world on this often take C control early, they'll push a player up B, re-clear A about a minute mark, and at that point, the attackers have full control of the map. It's a very attack-sided map in general, too. But let's see. Here now with 100 Thieves, rifles on board, and a 3-player stack for the defenders looking to fight over Mound.
You wonder if they're expecting some aggression there, if they're trying to fight for an orb. No one really close, so they just want the space. Just waiting on contact. Cloud9 with the lighter weaponry here. Instantly dropped by Asuna.
Oh, what perfect crosshair placement from Asuna there.
And it doesn't get much easier than that.
I mean, the idea is good from Cloud9. There's a one-way smoke from the Omen, so they put up their Viper wall, and that makes the one-way useless. They can threaten like they've repositioned, or in fact, fight heavily over it, but...
He's had.
Wow,
I mean, they read him like a book. Rooney had to try to get out of there. And that was all off the setup of the Viper wall that you mentioned. It was intended to feint the possibility of crossing. They did, and they die there as well.
I think in other rounds, you're going to see 100 Thieves still have to put a lot of pressure in that area, despite the fact that Cloud9 are probably not going to play that heavily, but that is a very simple round taken by 100 Thieves. I mean, right from the off, Asuna controls it, and he's got his Rolling Thunder online too.
Round 4, by the way. Excellent response on that round. A flawless round. They keep all weapons. They may have taken some damage, but really not a ton. Not a bad response. Note here also, Zelsis 1 point away from having the lockdown online.
I don't think he's going to get an opportunity for it, and in fact, Cloud9 are going for the same kind of setup over towards C.
If at first you don't succeed,
keep bashing your head against the brick wall.
That's how the saying goes.
Yeah, I think so.
But this time, Leaf is much further up. He's playing just on the other side of the wall. And he slipped through. Note, there's no lock, there's no alarm bot, there's no turret to push this flank.
And the Trailblazer gets used to kind of re-clear this B area. And normally, you're going to see teams use that over towards A. Instead, 100 Thieves contacting their way in with Cryo, Bang. On the pistol round, it was Stella doing the same thing. No real utility being used heavily in the A side of the map, but still, about 1 minute on the clock, they re-clear that. Leaf is very, very pushed up here.
He is. He followed the Trailblazer up, and now Stella just on the other side. The shots are clean from Leaf, and that's an opener for Cloud9.
It's lovely. They know exactly where 100 Thieves are going. There's a Rolling Thunder to deal with, but other than that, Cloud9 should be set up.
Look at Jake in a position to make a huge play, and that's a spike.
Down A.
Well out of reach of the remaining members of 100 Thieves, as Jake gets the second, the third is teed up and dropped. The guy continues to answer the call for Cloud9.
It's so impressive what these players have been able to accomplish. They fit into the team beautifully. I mean, Rooney and Jake, massive credit to them, and MCE for, knowing where to look, finding these talents.
I'm out of here.
You know, it's funny, I had a conversation with him shortly before the season started with MCE and kind of like feeling him out, getting his thoughts. Hey man, how you feeling going into the season? You doing okay? And he said, I think we're going to be just fine.
Yeah.
And man, has that not been accurate so far.
Yeah. I do not like this contacty approach to the A site from 100 Thieves, though.
I agree.
If anybody's trying to challenge over there towards Rubble, whether that be Leaf or whether that be, Jake in the mid-round, they don't have any utility really to clear that area. They're going to flash it at the beginning of this round, but it's the same kind of setup for Cloud9. 3 players mount, controlling C, and it kind of drives 100 Thieves into these A takes. Trailblazer again used only 10 seconds on the clock.
That flash is early and Leaf has gotten through. What do they have? Does Austin have any utility left? Yeah, he still has everything.
Look how Cloud9 are messing with this, though. Jake going for an info play over towards C.
Lockdown, use B. Trying to create some space for the attacking side.
And specifically, nice positioning here from Cryo and Bang, too. The Trailblazer, though, stopping things a little here. And also giving information that they weren't pushing off the back of the lockdown. So now Cloud9 are anticipating this hit coming through to A, and that's exactly where the spike is going. The reads are beautiful. At what point is Asuna going to decide to use the Rolling Thunder?
Here.
He has a lot of tools at his disposal. So has the fault line as well. And there's the Rolling Thunder. Going to pave the way. Is it going to hit anyone? No, I believe that hit missed the 2 members up in heaven as well.
And this, what a position for Leaf to be playing.
He's going to play spoiler. That's the spike once again. Sitting in no man's land. They have to get through, and then they have to clear a tree if they want to get the spike back. Then they have the lockdown they're going to have to navigate to. This just spells disaster for 100 Thieves.
I mean, look at Bang's POV there, and you can sense the chaos and the frustration. He's been left in a position, surrounded, ambushed. And despite running a double flash composition that has fault line, aftershock, all the flashes in the world, Trailblazer, they just aren't being able to secure these positions on A. They didn't use any utility to try and flush out Leaf in tree. And despite getting into the site, they didn't really control you know, the surrounding areas just got ambushed by Cloud9.
You know, the crazy thing too is 100 Thieves haven't been using early utility to control A main, and Cloud9 haven't played aggressively on A main. So imagine another round where Cloud9 calls something different and they decide to play up aggressively on A while 100 Thieves are trying to contact their way through.
Yeah, I think
it could be another disastrous round.
It could be dangerous for 100 Thieves, yeah.
Early timeout called.
Yeah, and I think this one in the right place. Listen, when you look at the series overall, I don't think it's unreasonable to favor 100 Thieves here. As we move later towards Ascent and towards Haven, I mean, those are maps where certainly we've seen some stumbles from Cloud9 and 100 Thieves maybe looking a bit more comfortable there.
Sure.
But this first map is giving me serious flashbacks to how well drilled Cloud9 looked in that game against Loud. When they come out straight, instantly, well, in that instance, to a 7-0 lead. This, though, looks like it could be as dominant despite 100 Thieves grabbing one in the middle. They just look like they're in control. They've put some serious time and thought into what to do on Lotus, adapting their composition, changing away from the chamber where Ye was at his most superb, and instead pushing Leaf onto, you know, the star duelist role. And Zels is where he's comfortable, playing a very meta comp.
What do 100 Thieves do out of this one? They used the Rolling Thunder, in the previous round. Asuna doesn't have that here.
I think you fight C. 100 Thieves got their best opportunity of winning a round, and in fact did very easily when Asuna was spraying into C. But not just that, Doug. You can flash through this smoke and try and clear it out with the guiding lights. They've got all the tools that they need to be able to take C control early.
Slightly different here out from Cloud9. Only 2 going into mound. They clear out the turret that's intended to cover the flank, and then they rotate back.
This is going to end up being a full retake, I think, from Cloud9. You just look at their positioning. They were playing aggressive early for C and B control. They're going to be here ready. They can either flood in when the plant gets tapped, or they can wait to do something big and set, and Zels' position has not been cleared.
No, and he's been so patient, too, not making a peep. You've got Leaf with ult. Do they choose to use it? 3 members, 2 in tree, and then what just on the other side at half wall? Cryo not able to find the first. Can Asuna do something different? As he trades it right back. Dancing around, feeling pressure from either side, and he's overwhelmed. Now a 3-2 number still in favor of 100 Thieves here as they have a good shot at winning this round. What can Rooney do? Member spotted, Rooney dropped, and Jake left alone.
Difficult situation for Jake and Rooney. The retake not quite working there. 100 Thieves able to hold on.
Well, let me ask you this, because we've seen a very similar flavor out from 100 Thieves so far, but this one worked. Well, what was different?
The difference being that they managed to get into good post-plant positions. I mean... Oh, Derek!
Well done.
All good.
Sorry.
All good, don't worry. All good. That was actually planned.
Calculated.
Yeah, that was calculated. No, I think the big difference there being that Cloud9 were playing aggressive towards C and B, right? They weren't A. They were able to get an easy entry in, and then their players were playing very heavy post plants around tree, and there were no players there to disrupt the site from coming through in the first place.
There was no flank, there was no pressure from spawn.
Exactly.
What's the difference here from Cloud9? We talked about this a few rounds ago. This time 3, intending to pressure A.
Let's go.
We'll see how 100 Thieves handle this, as it seems like they aren't really interested in going that way at all.
Very difficult to challenge that early stun that Leaf's going to throw out there, but instantly going for a rotate.
They leave Jake at A. While everything, I mean, your Killjoy utility from Zelsis, you've got 3 members playing over at Waterfall 2.
So they're hoping to try and crunch players on C right now. Look at this flash going in, clearing areas, Cryo opening the door. Getting set up for some C control just through the door there would be a nice play had Cloud9 been playing aggressively in that area. But the defensive setups have been mixed up.
I think this was also intended to be exploratory from 100 Thieves, right? Apply a little bit of pressure, get Derek in a spot where he can get his ult, and then use it. Now Seeker's invested.
This feels like an A hit too, and look where the spike is, complete other direction. But Celsius is holding on, and he's going to be asked to do a lot.
Yeah, do they bite? Do they bite on the fake? As they invest the Seekers of their own. And it is going to tag a couple of members, so there is a false sense of information here of confidence that the hit is A.
At the same time, though, alarm bot triggered over on C, and Zelsis now, his watchful eyes poking towards that choke. And the Trailblazer clears out B as well. They're pretty confident this isn't going to be a pivot. It's going to end C. Here come Leaf, here comes Zephyr, the cavalry's coming.
The triple pump fake is taking place. Cry the only one with fall. You can't imagine he uses it here. Zelsis is able to spam through the utility, through the smoke, to another kill. And it's clean from Cloud9.
What a shutdown. They always know where 100 Thieves are ending. I mean, they just have a ton of map control. And I think 100 Thieves are really struggling here to retake areas and threaten multiple places. The way that Zeppa, I mean, the Trailblazer, to me, is the biggest difference between these two teams, which might seem like a small thing to pick up on, but Derek is playing it right at the beginning of the rounds, flushing out anywhere that Cloud9 could be playing aggressively off the rip, whereas instead, Zeppa's using it to re-clear places and get them information when there's like a minute or less on the clock, and that helps inform their rotates. And so 100 Thieves, in some sense, are having to burn that really important piece of util because they're worried about how aggressive Cloud9 could be. And that's one of the advantages of playing the Neon. Sometimes the threat is worse than the action.
Interesting the way the pathing worked out. The setup is there for Cryo. He's able to get an opener in a second, too. This is very reminiscent to the opening round. They wanted to set Cryo up to make a play. This time he does.
But they've still been denied their access to the B site. And so, Rooney getting pressured here, jumping classics all over.
2 heads spotted. The third, no idea. Sucker punching him down into the next round.
There.
And there's where a measure of confidence can be very beneficial. Overwhelming.
He doesn't ult here, right? Surely not.
I don't think it would help him.
3 members. Brutal setup. He doesn't even check. Oh, dear. Oh, no. What was that? 1v3 here. Jake falls.
Wow.
Wow. That was uncomfortable.
But an unexpected eco round for 100 Thieves to be able to pull out.
Yeah.
Cryo finally having a moment where he's able to really flex his muscles on Jet. That's what they were trying to do on the pistol, absolutely. Like you said, Doug. Set Cryo up for one of those aggressive plays. But they've really struggled to get a read on where that vulnerable spot is. And I think they found a nice avenue there, being able to get into that BC connector. There's often going to be a rotate player there. There's often going to be a killjoy that can't really look after themselves if they're getting overwhelmed with flashes and stuns. But I don't really see anywhere else on the map where they're going to be able to make a play like that work.
I do think, though, if you're 100 Thieves, like you continue to trust Cryo, right? Like you continue to try to set him up, and maybe you're poking and prodding to try to find where he can find some success, but you continue to put the ball in his hand, surely.
Yeah, I mean, part of what they're doing actually is playing quite slowly in most of their rounds and not really having him explode in with a lot of utility. So maybe that's an adjustment that they could make.
Sure.
Try and play very aggressive in post plants as well. You know, have one of those slow rounds, see if you can get a plant down on A or B, and then decide to go for some aggression. Push stairs with Cryo, or, you know, push into the AB connector if you plant on B. There's many different ways in which you could play that and allow him to be aggressive.
Yeah, scale up a little differently. Folks, I'm being informed that there is a game issue. There are players who are reporting some lag on stage. So as soon as we get that figured out, we'll get it rectified, situated, and get back into the action early. If you are just joining us, this is map 1 of this best of 3. Cloud9 have kind of caused fits for 100 Thieves as they hold on to a 2-round lead.
Cloud9 have been causing fits for quite a number of teams, actually.
Yeah, they have.
Overperforming expectations, I think. People were, you know, looking at this squad and, I mean, they're playing with a collegiate player. Their IGL's just come in from Tier 2. Surely they're not going to be able to accomplish too much. And actually, this team is looking tight, drilled. I think MCE's done a great job, as of the core from Cloud9, of being able to integrate these new players and play well around a new system. And I think the tech pause allows me to weave a little story for you, Doug.
I do love a good story.
Let me weave a little story here. So, about a year ago, Cloud9 played against 100 Thieves.
Oh, we're going back.
Oh, and you won't believe who was playing. I mean, it was a blockbuster battle of Zeta for Cloud9 playing against Eccles and Baby J for 100 Thieves. So, I mean,
we're going back.
We're really talking ancient history. But I think, if you think back to what happened last year, Cloud9 made a roster move that a lot of people didn't quite agree with, and the ship slowly sunk. Whereas that 100 Thieves team had a Viking funeral. They just torched the entire thing, and they rebuilt. And they were actually able to benefit from Cloud9's slow slip away from relevancy in 2022 because there was a spot open at the top.
Sure.
And I think that has really carried through its thread into this game. If you think about that rebuild from 100 Thieves, what an opportunity that was for Bang and for Stella to really show themselves at a Tier 1 level, to go to big events, and they grasped that opportunity. And I look at the players on the other side here. Rooney especially is in a similar spot. And Jake has been given, I mean, an opportunity you wouldn't even believe as a collegiate player to play at a Tier 1 level and see whether he can hang and get that experience and perform on a top level. And they just have to look across the stage to see what could, you know, what the future might be able to look like.
Yeah, what it could
if they can take grasp of this opportunity.
And I want to go back to you're just mentioning Jake and Rooney and how exceptional they've been. They've answered the call every week, right? There were almost no expectations
for this squad. Let's be honest. There was a lot of doubt. There's no way these guys can execute on the big stage. They're so young. How are they going to navigate the pressure? The fact that they should be getting out-called by these world-class IGLs and everything that comes along with that. And man, they've answered the call, not just in their individual play calling, in their macro, but also their individual play making. Right, like they've been exceptional, especially Rooney.
Especially Rooney, yeah, that's what I was going to say. Being able to IGL at this kind of level, I mean, Rooney just looks like a tier 1 pro.
Yeah.
And he was on the up in a tier 2 scene and had that kind of package, but to be honest, not on too many people's radar.
No, not at all.
I think that's where you really see the brains behind this Cloud9 squad are coming from the coaching staff, and specifically, I mean, you look at the track record that MCE has of being able to find hidden talents. It's unreal. It's unbelievable. His scouting experience is fantastic. And yet, in the coaching head-to-head that we've got here of MCE versus Mike's has beaten the last 3 times.
3 times.
3 times. 100 Thieves been able to get the better end over the guard back when MCE was with that team.
Yeah, once again, this series really just kind of subverting expectations across the board. You weave together such a succinct narrative around Cloud9 and how they've gotten here, the roster changes and kind of everything that's gone in between. And yes, Cloud9 can look across the stage and see what's potential, right? What's possible, namely in the eyes of Rooney and Jake. And for 100 Thieves, I think there were very high expectations for this squad. You come in, you're only changing 1 player, which on paper should have been a considerable upgrade.
Yeah.
And bringing Cryo in, and they've looked okay.
I mean, actually, Hiko was on that team a year ago, so you can watch the VODs if you like. You'll find Hiko playing. But yes, I think for 100 Thieves, the expectations have definitely been adjusted in these 3 weeks. You heard Dash and Athena talking about it on the desk earlier during the pre-show, and Athena said by this point in the split, week 3, you kind of have a sense for who you are as a team.
Yeah, absolutely.
Of how things are going. And I think the fans for 100 Thieves have had to adjust their expectations a little bit, and probably the players have too, because it wasn't all plain sailing. They managed to get a reasonable distance at lock-in, but they weren't the explosive powerhouse team that we expected them to be, that they'd showcased in the offseason at Red Bull 2. So at this point, it's about showcasing that you can become that you can fulfill your potential.
The other thing very quickly about a single round robin is that it doesn't have to be pretty, right? As long as you're walking away with the dub, that's all that matters. We're going to throw this over to our YouTube channel. Actually, on our YouTube channel, you definitely want to check out Unstoppables, a brand new documentary series that chronicles VCT Americas. And you know what? We got a little teaser. Here's a short look at the very first episode. Enjoy.
Opening day is really fun because you get to see like all the fans here in North America. People being close while you're casting is awesome. People reacting to the stuff on screen, to the players that we haven't seen. TenZ having a crowd is just really cool. So there's people who are excited to see him after, 2 years essentially.
I'd heard a lot of things about TenZ, some really good, some really bad, and I couldn't put my finger on it, and I came here and I can tell why people love him. His mechanical skill, I think it is the best I've ever seen in any game I've ever played. His playstyle, I would say, is kind of chaotic at times. Like right now in practice, we're like pulling him back. Like he'll get 1 kill and then he'll be like, okay, I'm getting another. And you kind of have to rein him in a little bit. And that's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to like fine tune him. We're trying to like rein him in just slightly, just so we don't like kill his confidence or his skill, but just enough where it's more about the team.
But it's not done yet. It's now 2v2 here. Blades in play for TenZ, and they're good. Can Cryo do this by himself? No, he cannot.
Let's go. Look at this pistol again. If we get this pistol, we fucking win this game, all right? Yeah, let's go.
The defuse comes through as Sentinels get to 4.
It's funny that we're playing with 3 champs on one team. When you have guys on your team that have actually been there in the finals, there's something that you gain there with experience and confidence, and then when you step onto the stage again, you kind of have that in the back of your mind that like I'm a champ winner, like no one can mess with me today.
They don't have any main control. Cryo's already fallen too.
I think that's the difference that's going to happen on the stage when we play 100 Thieves is that Tyson is sure that he can win, and Cryo's like he's almost there, but is it fully true?
Trying to find some way into this round, and Cryo's just holding.
I mean, it's a 5v3.
He's just holding.
Kill delivered. Oh my gosh! Dude, this was a Herculean save from Sentinels.
Let's go OT. Whatever happens, happens.
Omen backside.
Coming up to you. Yeah.
Bang actually ulted into the KO right now.
I mean, that could be it. That could be the device. It does get destroyed.
Right side.
Can Stellar hold it back?
Nice!
No!
Oh my god, good job.
Unreal!
I love you. I love you. I love you too. Thank you for all the time. You're good, man. You're good. Man, shook your hand. You're good. Man, you're good. Guys, you gave us OT.
No pancada here on this late lurk. You see the flash, you see the dash. But there's no clash. There's no follow-up out from 100 Thieves. Bangs is the first to fall, but he was there by himself. Tens with another. Huge out from Sentinels. It's too easy. 14-12 in the series in favor of Sentinels.
And it's Sentinels who comes out on top in the Battle of NA.
Damn, that's crazy.
It's only been one series, but for now, Sen City rules this land.
That was an absolute banger. I mean, 2 really close games right off the start, and then we got to go to map 3, and again, another really close game. I think people are very happy with the performance of Zekin. I think people are very happy with the calling of Def, and then Tens was Tens. That guy was electric. He was really, really good.
If you enjoyed the content, you want to see more, make sure you check out our YouTube at Valorant_Americas. Josh, I heckin' love tens, so any more tens, any more def, and any more ballas, that's a win.
Yeah, and I mean, Nate looked like he was ready for another Viking funeral again there, didn't he?
He was stopped from destroying the desk with one hand.
Yeah, but that was a heartbreaker for 100 Thieves, letting that one slip away from them. And what an individual performance from Zek and from Tens. And I think that in the back of their heads, they might be concerned that this series could go a similar way, because you've still got that same level of firepower for Cloud9. Players like Leaf and Zeppa in particular can do what Second and Tens did to 100 Thieves. And on top of all of that, you know, the obvious game plan that's come in from Cloud9 on Lotus, so far working fairly well.
I mean, we talk so much about Zeppa and Leaf, and for good reason, but I think another player that has to be highlighted for his ability to be so flexible in the roles that he's asked to play and his ability to deliver in those specific roles is Celsius. This time on the Killjoy, and much like we've seen the guy can play Phoenix, he can play Killjoy, the man can play everything.
Yeah, he's been playing a large array of different agents, and I think, you know, all of Cloud9 really deserve the credit for making this system work.
Right.
Because they were put in a challenging situation with only, what was it, a couple of weeks before?
Not much.
Yeah, a couple of weeks before the Americas League kicked off. So the fact that they're competitive with these kind of teams is incredible. It looks like we're about to head back into the game, though. And so just to recap, we've seen Cloud9 with a very good defensive side so far. 100 Thieves being able to pick up a round by Asuna spamming through the smoke in round 3. Then round 6, a pretty nice A take. And most recently, Cryocells going very deep on an eco with multiple flashes. This looks like a big clash over towards C again. 100 Thieves really looking to stamp their mark on that area of the map.
Which is funny because this is where Cloud9 has explored previously. It was just other than that spam that you were just alluding to that Asuna found at 2K. It's really been Cloud9's land. But this time, 100 Thieves, quick to go. Rolling Thunder used once again, not going to hit anyone, so they're going to take the space and they're going to fight for a retake. They have Rooney's Pit and Leaf Salt as well.
This is also quite similar to the way in which they won a round on A. A very big push in. Stella reading the flank on Leaf here.
Yeah, but the turret was there, and I don't know if it got recalled or what, but Leaf's going to be able to scale up so much further without it.
I mean, look at the pings literally at Leaf's feet. They know exactly where he is. And they're reflanking the flank. Bang is in the A lobby.
He committed to the ult. The flash is there, and Stellar wins it out. That was very close.
This means that the entirety of 100 Thieves are going to be playing the spam. What is that shot from Derek?
Zep on the tap, not committing to it. Rooney playing on the other side of smoke. That's a free one. Now left in this 1v3. The tap, the fake, and the reposition. Cryo gone hunting, looking for a little something.
But they know he's not on it.
Oh, that's loud. It's just not enough. I mean, that was a difficult situation regardless for Rooney, but well handled by Cryo.
And that's now 2 rounds. Half of the rounds that 100 Thieves have been able to get are off the back of breach ulting into a site, and then being, well, actually, I think the previous one was without a breach shot, but a big exec into a site, and then being able to get into good post-plant positions. And if they can use their utility to stop Cloud9 from harassing them as they transition into those post-plants or get into the site in the first place, that seems to be the win condition. Cloud9 have actually not been able to pull off the retakes.
They still have a couple of tools here, but it's pistols for 3/5 of Cloud9.
Surprising, too, that Leaf has a Phantom here. Looks
With
like
the
they're
ult.
getting paused as well, though. But yeah, he has his ultimate online, so definitely opportunities for them to make murder happen across the variety of players that they have in different positions on the map. But so far, 100 Thieves are really finding an answer here that's working. And to me, Doug, the big difference is the pace change. They were playing so slowly at the beginning of the half, and they didn't really understand where on the map they were supposed to be fighting for, how they were going to take that space. And instead, they've just turned the dial up. And, I mean, in the previous round, they just go towards C instantly, breach ult, boom, got the plan. No messing around.
Just that easy, right? Yeah. Just have the breach ult every round and you'll be fine.
Well, they're about to have Stellas in another couple.
But I do think it goes down to the pace change, as you were mentioning. It was Asana's ult. 2 out of the 4 rounds that they've won have been off of that. One of them was Cryo finding space and able to get a 2K with the blade. So they're starting to find success in different places. You are not being trolled, by the way, those who are watching at home and here in the studio with us. That thing is still stuck at 1 second, the longest second. But we will get back into the action here as soon as we can. You mentioned the Phantom out for Leaf, who with ult in play chooses to go with that. And yeah, I think that's a surprising decision as well, Josh.
Oh, it's actually quite difficult for Leaf to find value out of the ult with how slowly 100 Thieves have been playing. So if 100 Thieves commit to an area, you might see him, you know, drop the Phantom, decide to invest the ult and go aggressive. But, you know, more so than that, I think what I'm looking for here is 100 Thieves to continue this adaptation that's working really well for them. A lot of people have been asking questions about 100 Thieves ever since Sean left the team about, yeah, well, you've dropped some of the structure. You've given more freedom to players like Stella to call how he would like to call as the IGL. And how has that materialized into wins? You know, where's that come from? And I think here it's been a decent example of, you know, Stella actually finding a good counter in the middle of this map to what Cloud9 were doing.
That's a really good point, because that was the biggest change, right? The biggest difference with the coaching personnel change and how you're putting so much more agency into the hands of Stellar to be able to call the game the way that he wants. There's a quick timeout being called for Cloud9 here. But you're right, he is starting to find some success, and this is what you want Stellar to be able to do. You want to put him into place to get a read on the game, a read on the situation, and then adapt accordingly.
I always love the signs as we go here. So we've got a 30-second timeout for Cloud9, and then we'll be going back into the game. So that's an interesting one. We're more than halfway through this first attacking half for 100 Thieves, but it's been slow paced so far. Yeah. I mean, it's disjointed. It's difficult to actually get into the flow of it if you're a player in this kind of situation. You know, you have so much time to think and overthink situations. But certainly, if Cloud9 want to win one of the maps dominantly in this series, I think it would be Lotus.
Given what's on the rest of the series, yeah, I would imagine. So, right back into the action,
Right
round
there.
10 live. And Cloud9 taking space. Oh, they flipped Jake in a cheeky little spot, but it got pinged instantly.
It did, yeah. I think, though, this is one of the situations where previously we've seen 100 Thieves contact in, and I was worried about it. But Derek now actually using the Trailblazer to be able to get that one out. I think that's a great use. There are players ready to back Jake up, though.
Yeah, the Phantom being one of them. We talked about it in the hands of Leaf. Bang. Waiting to strike, smoking off. As you see, Leaf just crept his way up towards tree. Perhaps expecting aggression there, but it never comes.
I think this is a great situation to move a little further forwards as 100 Thieves and go into a B pivot. You know that they're on an eco, they're much more likely to gamble stack. And the Seeker's being used here. Derek just clearing out the entirety of the B site, knows that there's nobody here.
But do they commit to it? I don't know if the panel's broken or not, but it seems like, yeah, they just went through it, so they are going to flood into B. And all of Cloud9 is already here.
But remember, when 100 Thieves have been able to get into post plants, it has been good for them. Choosing passive post plants, though, at least everybody other than Asna who gets team blinded.
And Cryo's still playing back wall. Huge kill out from Zeppa. Do they go? Leaf still with the Phantom. They're sticking with it. It's paying off as Bang falls. Jake on the tap, Stellar on the spam, and it's just a bit left. He's gotten it halfway. He's going to stick it the whole way. 75%, 80, 90. He sticks it all the way down.
Not a bullet of damage done in the middle of all of that. And that's the first successful retake for Cloud9 there.
And it was with lighter weaponry.
Yeah, that one looks rough for 100 Thieves. There are moments like that that have been hurting them so far in this split where, I mean, specifically Asuna's position, he's got nobody to play off.
Yeah.
And I think playing aggressive post plants are great if you actually have, you know, Cryo there and there's two of you ready to fight up aggressively towards spawn. But instead, it's just one player isolated.
Cover going out.
3 from Cloud9, fight over Mound to begin the round, and 100 Thieves take rubble control. This is the area that they cleared out in the mid-round previously. And I think the fact that they put in a heavy emphasis here early on indicates to me they're just going to go for a big A exec. Stellar's ult online. Rip the lockdown and go A.
Jake has already gotten all the way through C. He's all the way into spawn. There's an alarm about to cover him.
You should run.
But there's a lockdown.
And this lockdown now gives him the perfect timing on the flank.
Yeah.
He knows exactly when he should be trying to aggress.
Here.
Oh, it's just a bit away.
But this is perfect. I mean, he could potentially teleport past this,
Spike
get a timing
planted.
past it, smoke it. Oh, unfortunate for Jake. Just based on Stellar going in and out of range.
You got to be careful here if you're Jake. If they decide to re-aggress, if 100 Thieves do, you can push him off, but he's just going to be a nuisance. Derek has already fallen. Jake's being so pesky, and he gets 2 clean shots out from him. The third. Oh! Cryo not able to respond in kind.
What a round from Jake, considering his positioning was given away by the alarm bot, to still perfectly coordinate with the rest of his team. One applying pressure from the back while the rest take space up front. Those are plays and those are timings you do not expect from a collegiate player being thrown into Tier 1 Valorant.
I mean, you imagine the comms in situations like that. You've got the lockdown, you got to navigate, you're trying to figure out timings. Oh, the alarm bot spotted me. I wasn't able to smoke it off. But you're right, they handle it so beautifully. That would be a perfect like open mic session, by the way, for the content piece. Very good suggestion for it.
And now final round of the half. 100 Thieves looking to try and recover this. 7-5 would be a great result for them, considering how things have gone.
Agreed. Agreed. We may go a full half without seeing Leaf Salt. He's had it for a while, still does.
Yeah, I mean, most of the time he's had his gun in his hand, hasn't he? And this is a big push coming out from him and Jake.
He's got the wall, and there he goes. He's swinging around, Lightning McQueen, and Kachowing his way to a kill, but instantly traded back. Asuna with an awesome response.
And Zephyr and Rooney don't know exactly what to be doing here. Still clearing things out, still trying to provide information for Zelsis. And the timing here could be good. Derek was just glancing behind him, but hasn't seen anything. And now they're going to be coming within range of where Zelsis can hear.
Rooney doesn't have orbs, so they're going to have to either navigate through B, tip through the panel, or just get hit by the bot. That's exactly what they do.
He gets out! Asuna managed to grab both ult orbs in this round, though, and he has his Rolling Thunder online. So 2 big initiator ults. One good for post-plant aggression, the other good for the retake. They might end up just cancelling each other out, but the Seeker's used to see if anyone's in cheeky forward positioning.
Look at Zelsis' bot. Yeah, it just got cleared out in tree. They're able to take care of it. Now the Seeker's starting to funnel there as well. You can see the Rolling Thunder. It's propped. It's ready to go. It's been a key to their success for 2 of the 4 rounds that they won. Can they secure a 5th?
Was that a bit too early, perhaps?
Possibly. Possibly. Rooney's on the tap. Derek waiting close by, trying to spam through the utility. The orb goes down. The kills go up for Cloud9 as they get both.
What a play by Cloud9. Love the way that Rooney is using his Viper Orb there to drop it and choose his timings to fight in tree. What a beautiful half by Cloud9.
I mean, exceptionally well played. If they decided to scale into it, they were going to be decayed. It was so beautifully played by Rooney. So well played by Cloud9 as well. An 8-4 lead, taking us into halftime. Let's look at that one more time, Josh.
Yeah, I think this double setup, isolating one kill at a time, it's just excellent. And the fact that Asuna had his ult online but still wasn't able to win the post plan, credit to Cloud9 how they play around that.
1000%. 4-round lead. Let's throw it down to the desk. Dash, are you impressed with Cloud9 or worried about 100 Thieves here?
Well, I'm impressed, but I don't know if my opinion matters at all. 8-4, though, as they mentioned, is the scoreline here. And that last round got a little sketchy for them.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the defensive setups here for Vans that let them build this bit of a round lead.
Yeah, at the same time, I want to talk about how disciplined this Cloud9 team is, right? We see a different composition coming out of this roster, and at the same time, how they could actually counteract against a lockdown that comes through. I mean, pay a lot of attention to that minimap as how far back they are, but besides that, you still have Leaf that plays very close enough that tries to time into relay boats to delay, as well as you have Sky Flashes and a Trailblazer to counteract on a Molly. So that cancels out any type of pressure you're trying to bring into the attack for 100 Thieves, whereas even for C9, outside of that ult, they've just been really good on how they're setting up their positions defensively to continue that delay.
Yeah, I mean, the amount of delay is insane. And going forward, I think both these teams are really going to have to consider how to kind of counter these comps. I mean, the delay actually stopped a lot of the post plants that 100 Thieves were trying to do, but 100 Thieves kind of tried to get it down, but obviously last round kind of sending that ult too early, sending their util too early, just kind of lost them that lead. And so going forward, I think 100 Thieves is really going to have to be playing that retake kind of setups. They're going to have to be careful about the Viper ults, the Viper wall, the Viper gas, kind of waiting to see when everything is down and when everything is ready to go, because the amount of util they have as a team is just insane. But again, unless they time it right, and we saw that they kind of didn't that half. They started to kind of falter towards the end. Unless they time it right, they will not be able to play this retake setup that I think they're going to try to aim towards from the defense side.
Timing is everything, right? Timing is everything, but both of these teams looking to get it done here on map number 1. It is a 4-round lead here for Cloud9. We'll see if 100 Thieves can make up that difference on the back half of the game as we head back out to our casters, Doug and Sideshow.
Thank you so much, Dash. Yeah, a 4-round lead for Cloud9, but I think, Josh, I want to turn eyes towards Cryo because he is the star for this 100 Thieves roster. He should, in theory, be a bit more comfortable on the side, no?
Yeah, I think he's a defense-sided player. You can see him with a Sheriff in his hands, looking to take a fight directly against Leaf over here at C to begin.
Leaf's already gone up. The fault line perhaps a little late, and every single shot misses.
Whoa, Leaf
gets
2.
Second. Bang trying to do a bit of the same. He gets 2 of his own. But through all of that, Jake is the last one standing.
And the way is open on C here for Cloud9. Stella and Derek with only classics to their name and a single flash. I just don't see how this is gonna work for them.
Yeah, borderline impossible, you'd imagine.
Stella might try and take a timing here.
He saw him, he spotted him, he dropped him. Are you expecting Derek to be coming the same way? Maybe not, but when you're facing 3 guns, and that's gonna hurt, that doesn't feel good. No more. He's gotten it down to it.
It's a very good try by Derek, but just too many people opposing him. The 1v3, not quite manageable. What a start there for the half, as we saw Leaf and Cryo clashing on Mount, and Leaf dominating that matchup with a Ghost. The first shot, a body shot onto Leaf, causing him to duck away, and still able to get 2 repeats and take out, the big 2 aggressive players there, Cryo and Asuna.
Well, and I think there we see the benefit of running a Neon is Leaf got ahead of the fault line from Asuna, so he was able to take that fight clean.
Sure. And it looks like 100 Thieves are putting a heavy C crunch down. I mean, a paranoia setup here for Bang. They had a fault line ready. Cryo, Stella could have fought that. And Cloud9 avoid the entire thing just by choosing to take a right out of spawn instead of a left.
Nothing quite like guessing correctly. Look at how far up they've scaled too.
It's great to be good, but it's better to be lucky.
That's what they say. Trailblazer through the smoke, Derek spotted. You wonder here with how much space they've taken, they really have no idea that there's only one player here.
Oh, Leaf's push here. Great in some kind of rifle round or maybe a bonus round. Slightly worried he might give a Bulldog away, but he's also hearing everybody from 100 Thieves pathing up into heaven. Only Cryo going to check. And that means no jet.
No jet. Rooney hit that shot onto Derek. Bang and Asuna both so weak. If you're Cloud9, excuse me, you want to get through this cleanly, and they do. Rooney with 3 on the round. Does Cloud9 get to 10?
I'm picking up both pistols here, Cloud9. I mean, that really should cement the map for them. A 6-round advantage going into their bonus. They've been looking great. 100 Thieves have got such an unbelievable comeback if they want to make this one doable.
Especially on the defensive side. Josh, you mentioned it at the beginning of the map. This tends to lean towards the attacking side, so Cloud9 really should have all momentum.
Yeah, especially in Americas. The attacking teams have been finding so much more value. You can see an early fault line here designed to push Rooney away. The rest of Cloud9 looking like they want to take some B control with a turret to stop anybody from fast flanking through C. Now, 100 Thieves in general are going to play very retake heavy. And on this map, maybe they need to challenge. Instead of just giving up sights, you can see Cryo, Derek here with a bit of a crossfire setup, playing off the alarm bot contact.
Oh, that's free from Derek, spamming through and getting 2.
Ridiculous.
Seems like 100 Thieves are equalizing at least in this round.
Cover going
Still
out.
2 guns left in the hands of Cloud9 though. And Bang under pressure. Cryo's close by, but he can't really help here. Bang was left on an island.
This would be a disastrous round for 100 Thieves to lose. After Derek gave them such an enormous opening, the spike now retrieved. And Cloud9 look like they want to work the map. I mean, these 100 Thieves players have no idea where anyone is. The only information they have is over towards C.
And B is entirely vacant.
Yeah, even for Cryo and Derek on that angle, it's possible they could have crossed.
I don't think that flash
30
hit.
seconds left.
They have no idea that they're just ahead of it.
What an incredible timing that they found. But for Leaf and Zelsis in a 2v3, they might have to make a play before the spike gets planted. All right, Zelsis goes for it. And Leaf's looking for the pick to equalize things and make it a 2v2, make it more winnable. I like the play, but again, looking in the wrong direction.
I respect it. They leave Zelsis alone with his 38 HP left in a 1v2. The high-low a bit too much as they continue to scale forward. Zelsis happy to play time and try to isolate the gunfights. It's just too much.
That's a big round.
That's all for Derek.
And Derek also with the 2 kills through the smoke. Looking very reminiscent of Asana's spray kills through the smoke as well. And I don't want to put it like this necessarily, but 40% of 100 Thieves rounds have just been spams through smokes. So, you know, maybe...
If it works.
Yeah, just spam a bit better, you know what?
Just spray harder, man.
Yeah, I'm not sure that those ones are as replicable, but at the same time, always worth doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's got Derek's ult online, like you said. It might give them a foothold back into this. Cryo looks like he wants to take an aggressive angle. There's a fault line prepped here.
Waiting for contact that never comes. They should hear. I think they've made some noise. I wonder if Cryo hears where some of the pressure's coming from. And if not, that flash should give things away, or at least give an idea of where some of the initial pressure is.
This is one of the reasons that the double smoke comp is so good. At any point here, they can get back into A because Rooney's put his Viper orb down and it just blocks all vision from Derek.
Oh, and not to mention, he still has this wall. You so often see that early investment.
Sure. Look at how much map control Cloud9 have. They can see the entrance to B, they control the whole of Mound, and at any point here, can re-clear. I mean, Zeppa waiting until the minute mark to use his Trailblazer with the Viper orb. I mean, this really is different to the way that 100 Thieves were playing their attack side. The question is, can they convert when it matters most, when you get to the site?
I do like 100 Thieves setup here, though. They have Asuna in a really nice position, and they have the Seekers used a little bit later here. Asuna's utility should come into play.
This is wild. What a play. So far forward from Leaf.
It was a 1-for-1.
There's 30 seconds left right now. Stella falls though, and that's all the Killjoy utility down. Banger's got to hold on.
The spike is just now leaving spawn, and they've thrown a pause on it. Celsius is going to have ult. They're going to invest the lockdown.
And they don't have time. They've got to go.
You should run.
There it is. Lockdown invested. 10 seconds left now on that ult. 14 seconds left in the round. Bang. Trying to anchor, and he does as he gets 3.
Down, C.
How the heck does Rooney win this? I don't know that he can.
He's got 4 seconds. I'm not sure he even got that. That might be a couple milliseconds off.
How? Oh, it didn't.
He didn't.
That was so close.
Incredibly close. Even then, he would have been put into a 1v3, but possibly could have been good for it. That was a scramble from Cloud9. I loved the way that they were playing the early round and the mid round, but then they couldn't make a decision about where to end up.
You think even just like the half-second hesitation on the lockdown, they scaled up and then they turned back. Oh, let's get orb, let's get ult.
Don't really understand the lockdown usage either because it's 13 seconds for it to pop in the first place, and I don't think they had 13 seconds to spare, frankly.
That's always so sad. Whenever I see the little bear, I wonder what happened.
Yeah. It is a war zone, I suppose.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, you don't see too many civilians wandering around Lotus, do you?
The bustling metropolis that it is. Couple of pistols, a mixed buy for Cloud9. And Leaf's already fallen, bro. Bang is warming up.
He definitely is. You're starting to see why he's the highest rated player on 100 Thieves so far in Americas. And meanwhile, Cryo is providing a lot of passive value here by just picking that operator and locking down C.
And this is Cryo, right? Like, this is where he's comfortable. You often get different varieties of jets. There's aggressive playmaking, or there's just lockdown jets, and this is the flavor that Cryo tends to play.
Speaking of lockdowns, that kind of stops the B pivot, and I think that's what Cloud9 were looking for.
Tap on the door, they funnel through. They are going to commit here with 45 seconds left. No doubt about it. Dude, Bang is just locking things down. Remember, Bang in this, what's now a 3v1 here, Zeppo with nothing but a frenzy drops. Remember, those types of plays are what really felt like the Bang party, right? Like the arrival of Bang. I have so many memories of him locking down sites on Ascent by himself. 2Ks, 3Ks during their LCQ run. That's vintage Bang. We just saw it in the last few rounds.
But 100 Thieves have a big one coming up here. Cloud9 with rifles back in hand and a lot of ults to work with. The only one that's really that relevant, though, is Rooney's. If they can get into a good position, Viper's Pit, it's going to make 100 Thieves kind of retake setups very difficult.
You say that, but we saw in the previous half, Jake, with a very aggressive ult as well. Given the nature of the map, I wonder if there's a little bit more room for playmaking here with that ult, but we'll see.
Possibly. You see Jake immediately taking the teleport over to the back of Rubble. Cryo getting set up over towards C, too. So Cryo is going to be out of these rounds completely, you know, having no sizable impact in the fragging unless Cloud9 decide to go back over there.
And the money, too. I mean, that op it's expensive.
Oh, Bang getting spammed through the tree, and there's their star player gone. There's the pit on site.
Anchor down. Asuna dumping util, and yeah, forcing Rooney to reposition. Still plenty of time here, though, for them to navigate this.
What?
How did he get that? He might get a second. He is going to get a second.
Unreal.
The op that you mentioned that was on the opposite side of the map now just has to sit quietly on the sidelines. Perhaps try to save the weapon, and yeah, there's plenty of bankroll on the side of 100 Thieves, but...
And what a great read, honestly, from Cloud9. Something that I think will go under the radar a bit here. All of the rounds, I mean, a lot of the rounds prior to when 100 Thieves had an op on board, they were going trending towards C, taking that control, knowing that there was only rifles for the defenders. And now that there's potential for an operator, now that that's in Cryo's hands, they go towards A, the last couple of rounds, knowing that even if Cryo is trying to op there, he's going to be cut off by Viper walls. There's no way that Cryo's going to be able to get a good angle over on A. So they're just playing avoid Cryo.
You wonder here, too. This is where some of the mind games come into play, right? You just spotted where Cryo was, right? You assume that he was in C because you haven't seen him the last 2 rounds. Then you confirm him at the end of that round. Yeah, he was playing on that side. Do you push into C? Does Cryo swap over to A, given where some of the hits have gone?
But like I'm saying, where does Cryo play on A? Where he gets around the Viper wall that Rooney is throwing.
Or the open smoke,
Is he trying to walk through the Viper wall, get a shot off and dash away? That's a bit crazy aggressive for a player like Cryo. He normally takes the safer angles and really relies on his team to set him up with a lot of that util. If they're going to try and post Cryo on A, it would have to be because they're util dumping massively at the beginning of the round. And I think that's part of what they'll be discussing in this timeout here. Getting Mike's input and trying to have that discussion, Doug. What should we be doing to get more value out of Cryo's op? Sure, we know they're not C on these rounds. That doesn't help us defend A.
No, not at all.
At least it hasn't been so far.
15 seconds left in this conversation for 100 Thieves. They find themselves down 4. We talked about it at the beginning of the half. What can they do with Cryo? Should be more comfortable here. And as you were mentioning, Josh, they've just navigated away from him. They haven't bothered challenging him. We'll see what they do this time around. We'll also take a look at what ults are available and weaponry. Seems like it's a bit of a interesting buy here. Zepa, maybe if Rooney buys for him, we'll be able to bring a rifle in.
Yeah, I mean, Rooney definitely should be buying for him here. Don't worry, they won't forget.
This is fine.
Don't worry. They definitely didn't forget. Oh, there we go. So Cryo is going to try and op a really passive angle towards A, and I just don't quite understand how this is going to work. Look at all of the Viper utility up in his face. He doesn't know where people are going to peek from. And at any point here, he might just have a sky flash in his face. There's another smoke. You know, how is he getting the value here? He is going to have to hit something really solid on a very small angle as Cloud9 get into the site. This is where Cryo's tested.
Not even just small. I mean, presumably aggressive as well. I don't know that he can just continue to play this far back, but...
This is a nice position for him to be playing, though. He can dodge flashes from here. He has his updraft to be able to get out.
I've got your
Waiting for the swing, position given away. Now Cloud9, do you choose to challenge or rotate off?
Cloud9 avoid it. They're playing avoid Cryo. Get out of the way of the orb.
It's working. It's worked so far. A plan on B from Xeppaa.
And all of that effort to get Cryo in a better position. And now he's got to retake again with the operator online.
We saw how ineffective that was previously. Can they find more success here? The paranoia is traded, and the one from the attacking side seemed to hit a whole lot more. But they start to flood out. They start to take some of the space back. This chaos. There's just so much utility here from, yeah, there it is, Asuna's flash.
But also look at Rooney. He's reflanked. He pushed the breakable door, and now he's coming around behind them. Could he be the difference maker?
The timing's everything. Yeah, he gets two. Another round for Cloud9 as they get to map point.
What a play. And once more, it's one of their players that's new to the roster. Rooney with the big brain IGL lurk, and also directing his team perfectly away from 100 Thieves' efforts to spear them on the tip of the operator. It's just been excellent stuff from Cloud9. And Rooney's timing on this, it couldn't be better. He avoided that massive clash over at the breakable door, pivots around, goes through the defender's spawn to be able to get that flank off. It's just gorgeous.
Cloud9 looking to deliver the final hit onto 100 Thieves on Lotus. The Rolling Thunder gonna divide remaining members of Cloud9, but Austin's falling here as well. Oh god!
Whoa, what's going on there? Omen battle in the middle of A. Maybe that could be decisive. If Bang can hold on and deliver a bit more.
But the spike's not even there.
No, I think they're just gonna pivot away.
But look at where they've left Leaf. Any kill he gets here is icing on the cake.
Info.
Go, go, go.
That's great from Leaf. It still makes it feel like there's presence over towards A. Draws out the Trailblazer as well. I mean, Cloud9 are making this feel like there's a lot of presence over on the A side of the map, and instead, they're crunching towards B.
Blinded.
They also just hit the door between B and C, so many mind games being played here. Where's the hit gonna end up? Lockdown invested B.
That's off the back of an orb.
I got the
Derek,
spot.
if he can find an entry, spamming through a smoke, would have his Seekers online, but he's forced away from the angle as the lockdown comes through.
Ult used by Leaf. Spike planted by Xeppaa. Note how weak Bang is, and he's going to be one of the ones on the flank. Derek looking for the first angle, not able to deliver. Bang, 45 HP, 0 HP now. As Stellar's left in a 1v4 to save the map, and he cannot. Cloud9 once again find themselves up 1-0 in the series.
What an expert display of Cloud9, picking a great map, adjusting their Lotus composition, and outplaying 100 Thieves. Rooney as well, outcalling Stellar. What a great start to the series, but we've seen Cloud9 in these positions before. They went up 1-0 against Loud, and they ended up crumbling map 2 and map 3.
You can't help but wonder if that's going to be a bit of the same, but I want to go back to what you were mentioning around Rooney in a lot of ways out-calling Stellar, even late into the game, right? You expect an IGL with the experience of Stellar to, as the game goes on, get more comfortable, right? Get a better read on what's going on and start to adapt accordingly, but Rooney just out-called him.
I think he did in the first half, Stellar.
Yeah,
I think he did a decent job adapting, but then when the half swapped, he had to start all over again. And the prep work just looks a lot better from Cloud9. Also, shouldn't be avoided, Jake having his best performance I think we've seen from him in a map in Americas, at least the best one that I've seen. How is Jake, the collegiate player, out, getting more impact than Bang? I mean, that was not on anyone's bingo card, I don't think.
No, absolutely not. And the crazy thing is, you're right, it was Rudy who's been delivering that way, but Jake getting in on the action, 16 and 12, and also a pedestrian 17 assists. 17!
Yeah,
more assists than he had kills. Either way, Cloud9 take down 100 Thieves in the opening map of this best of 3. It's Sen on the other side of this break. We'll be right back.
What?
assist from Ye.
He is currently unstoppable. He is just a consistent demon. El Diablo.
Hey guys, it's Ye. Welcome to my course on optimal Valorant training. I'm going to be demonstrating now some angle clearing. I'll slowly come around the corner as well, making sure no one's on these off angles.
Red Bull gives you wings. Red Bull gives you wings.